My secret sauce is just to be curious, learn about everything. Because I think we all want to be SMEs, we want to be experts, but the power is also, we're all comfortable. A lot of people are comfortable being experts in places, but I think the power comes when you're not
Mm.
comfortable in being an expert.
Welcome to Leadership, the Secret Sauce, the podcast where we talk to extraordinary coaches and leaders to dive into the realms of leadership and coaching. We're your hosts, Dave Lipsky and Matt Dodson. So let's jump in with another guest and find out their answer to the question, what is your secret sauce? Welcome to Leadership, the Secret Sauce with coaches Dave Lipsky and Matt Dodson. Before we begin, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Character Matters Coaching and Consulting, where they believe that your character is the compass guiding you through life's journey. Whether you're facing personal or professional challenges, they are dedicated to helping you discover and strengthen the core values that define who you are. Dave, who do we have today?
I wanted to welcome Ayo. Ayo, welcome to the podcast. Matt and I created this podcast because we like to hang out with coaches and learn about the secret sauce, what makes them tick, what excites them. So we're really excited to have you into the podcast.
As a
Nice. I love it.
seasoned podcaster, Ayo Lawrence. So,
Yeah, as in right, a self-seasoned podcaster. So
yes.
I'll start off with just a couple questions, and I'll let Matt dive in. So when you are on the airplane, on the bus, somewhere, and somebody turns to you and says, "Oh, hi, Io, good to meet you." What do you do? How do you introduce yourself?
I say hello, I smile to them, and I just say hello. My name is Ayo Lawrence. I'm a joyful person, and that's why I always tell people I bring joy into everything because my name Ayo actually means joy. So I radiate the joy back. So that's one of the biggest things I do, and I just get to know them. But the way I introduce myself is my name is Ayo Lawrence. I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn. I say you know not because you learn not. I always tell people you have to continue to learn, so, and I always introduce myself as well as, as a somebody that works in the oil and gas company. I try to do a lot of things, and with Matt, we know I've gone through our organization into different roles, so I love to learn a lot of things, so I go into different things. So, but I'm a podcaster as well. I do podcasts. I love to read. I'm a self-proclaimed bookaholic. I actually try to read a lot of books. So from those books, I started a podcast called Reading with Ayo, which is I think it's a great podcast. A lot of people enjoy it. So I'm going to say myself too, because I enjoy going back to read, to
Mm.
listen to it too. And I just, things that I learned from books, although recently I've started going away from books. I've started talking about life and some of the things that I'm seeing in life, bringing it to talk about, authenticity, talk about coaching, talk about different things. But I don't like to limit myself. I'm a limitless human being. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's one thing. And Christ is one of the things that actually motivates me a lot.
Hmm.
I am so excited.
You know what, Dave? I don't even think you need to ask the energy level question.
No, I think we're good. I think like Io, you just brought the energy into the room. So I am so excited to like learn more about you. And towards the end of the podcast, we ask about like what are those resources you recommend. Matt, I think we should just skip everything and just go straight to those. No, we'll go through the questions. So it's such a pleasure to meet you. I love your positive energy, and I'm looking forward to learning more about you.
No, thank you. Nice to meet you too, Dave. Matt is my buddy. He started helping me with my coaching journey. And so I always thank him a lot for doing that.
Mm.
You're one of the people that, brought me into this coaching world, and I just love it. So thank you guys for doing this, for, teaching people about coaching. And I think everybody needs a coach. I think people don't understand what the power of having a coach is. A coach helps you to help you understand. You always tell people a mentor is somebody, like, if you go into, like, you want to buy a suit or something, and you go into Macy's and you go get a self-made suit that somebody has made for you. That is what a mentor is. But a coach is your tailor that will look, you will tell him what you want, and it will help you to measure and give it to you fit for purpose. And it's not so. I always tell people, and I love self tailor made suits. So that's why I love coaches, because they help you tailor make things for you that fits your personality. So that's one thing I love about coaching.
Mhm. Okay, Io, you have to tell us. We're not going to ask you like we we presume that your energy level is about a 9 or a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh
What do
yeah.
you think? Okay. Um,
No, it's a
okay.
10 because seriously, right now, I have family in my life
Mm,
right now. My auntie's here from London. She's here. We've gone out today. We've enjoyed it. And I just, I I always think everything life is too short. There's too many things going on in the world, and we have a house over our head. We have a family. We have food. Where everything. Why don't we positive? Why is the energy not high? Because we're better than most people. Not because those people they don't want to be better, but God has just helped us to be in a better place. And I just so that's I can't not be positive.
mm. Okay. So tell us a little bit. We sort of asked you the question, what is your secret sauce? How would you describe that?
Is being
Mm,
curious. My secret sauce is just to be curious, learn about everything, because I think we all want to be SMEs, we want to be experts, but the power is also, we're all comfortable. A lot of people are comfortable being experts in places, but I think the power comes when you're not
mm,
comfortable in being an expert, learning from others. This podcast is I've learned from Dave, Matt. I'm going to learn from Dave. These are relationships I want to build going on, so I can learn from each other because all of us we're brought to this world to learn. We if we wanted to just be an expert, there would just be one person. But because everybody has a different experience, our different knowledge, we all learn from each other. And I want to ask
mm,
questions. I want to it helps me to be a better person, learning from different people, learning from different things, and it gives you a lot of exposure too. So I think that is my secret sauce. That is where I get to learn. Like I went down to somewhere this week, and someone that has been in that building for almost like a year now didn't know some of the things I knew. It was like, how did you know that? So like I asked because well, I told you, you know not because you ask not.
mm. True that. Um,
I, yeah, I have a follow up question on that, Matt. Um, you had said something in the beginning, like a tailor made suit, and then you talked
Yeah.
about learning, I am curious of like as you're looking across at your coaching client, and you're thinking,
Yeah.
all right. How do I tailor make a learning experience for that individual? Like, what are you thinking? What are you looking for in that?
So I always, for me, I always take every coaching session as if I'm meeting the person in new, afresh, right? And because everybody brings a different experience to each day of the coaching, so it's what did they need today? For what suit do they need to make to have today? That is where I go in with, right? So I tend to listen a lot because I just think because when I listen, I get to hear the people when they speak, and also he helps me to ask powerful questions like, hey, what do you mean by that, right? Because when you listen, you get to learn. Oh, what do you mean by that? That then they will tell you, oh, I want this suit to be bigger here, to have a flare here. Then they start talking. Then asking them, tell me more about
mm,
that. Those kind of powerful questions helps you to start building trust with them. And also, I just bring my positive attitude to them as well. Then I always ask everyone my coach at the beginning, what's the one thing that's making you, you know, that brings you joy today, right? And every time that lights up their world a little bit
mm,
too. Like they just talk about something because he helps them to put them in the mind. And when they're talking, they'll reflect. They are naturally reflect back to those things. Hey, and I just feel like it's just a powerful thing. But I think every single time I see every client coming in to make a new suit, a new style, and I think that's just the way because it helps me to learn something new about them. It makes them to learn something new about themselves too.
mm. I also think you're questioning sort of some of their suppositions. Like, what do you mean by that? Or, like, so if I'm really truly curious, I want to know, how did you arrive? How did you arrive at that idea? Like, whatever it happens to be, like, "Oh, yeah, if I want to just poorly add the suit analogy, if I want flared pants at the bottom, and if I don't ask why or tell me a little bit, like, how did you arrive at that idea?" Then I kinda just assume, like, "Hey, we both know what flares mean. Does that mean, like, bell bottoms?" And there, I'm actually done with all of my fashion, ideas, so I don't have any more with that, but yeah.
Now, when you ask powerful questions, it helps them a lot. It helps the coachee and the client a lot. I think it's one of the best ways to help them get better.
But how did you know that curiosity was, like, your secret sauce? Like, how did you know it?
So, I'm a questionnaire. So if I had, we've been in meetings together and I will ask a lot of questions because I've heard that I don't want to go into a room. My mom actually told me this is don't go into a room and kind of come of that out of that room dumber than you went in. You got to come out
Mm,
smarter. Ask all the questions that you need to ask to be smarter because sometimes people sit in rooms and they don't understand things and they will sit in and keep quiet,
mm,
right? But like when you
yes,
ask questions,
right
you get
on. And so
clarifications. And when you ask
they don't
questions, you know more.
mhm,
When you ask questions, it builds you. It builds your knowledge. It builds the people that are you working with as well. And people it helps to move things faster as well
mm,
because I just think it's a very, very great thing. So just being curious. I don't know if you guys watched the Ted Lasso episode whereby, the guy didn't ask him that if he played darts before and the guy just assumed. Because when you assume, it makes an ass out of you. That's what he said. Sorry for my words. But like because the guy was just thinking Ted couldn't play and he thought he was gonna beat him and he took it. And Ted, I told him if you were smart enough, you would have asked me did I used to play that? And Ted beat him, right? So I always tell people that is I don't I think when I started asking questions, I started in secondary school, I started getting better. In Nigeria, my grades wasn't really at first. My grades wasn't really good, but my mom will ask me questions, continue to ask me questions. I'm like, so, and she'll ask me, didn't you ask your teacher that? And I was like, I didn't. And like, yeah, you need to ask. So that just encouraged me. Then my grades started getting better. That I actually even got a scholarship later. So it's like, yeah, he just asking questions made me
mm,
smarter everywhere I go. I know it annoys people sometimes, but that is who I am, and I can't run away from it.
mm. So, here's my question. So, say I'm your coachee, you're my coach,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, "Okay, if I'm gonna bring something to IO, I'm gonna get lots of questions." Is that how I would see it? How would I see it in your coaching?
So in my coaching, I I would say I ask a lot of questions, but I let the questions they evolve and develop. Right? You've always come in coaching. You always come in with empathy, right? You don't come in, you don't put the monkey on your back, but you come in to see the person, right? So you listen, right? You first listen, listen, listen. As you're listening, you listening helps you to understand, right? Then when you understand, you can ask questions. So it's not questions, questions first. Even when you're going in life, if you're in a classroom, you're in a meeting, you have to understand what you want to ask. You can't just ask stupid questions. You got to ask pinpointed, great questions that are going to bring out good answers, right? So first listen, first understand, then ask
Mm,
questions.
All right, I have a pin. I have a pointed question. The statue above your head.
Yes,
What animal is that?
it's a Black
It's a
Panther.
Black Panther. Why? Why? How? Why? How does that Black Panther find its way to your above your head on your shelf? Why is that important to you?
So myself, if you actually see it, right, there's a lot of things, and I will share a lot of things about myself with you, right? So if you see there, there's a Lagos, right? Lagos, this is where I grew up. This is where I was born in Lagos. This typewriter here was where my first company my dad had, right? This is AY, this is my nickname at Chevron, where I work. And this is the globe. I want to travel the world. And the books you see are some of my favorite books. Then if you come here, you might see I love to ride a bike,
mm,
right? A lot. Then if you go to the phone, that's the kind of phone me and my wife started using when we're dating. So that is good. But the Black Panther is a source of strength for me, and it's like I just love the strength that Black Panther. They're very calm people. They don't you don't see them everywhere. They are very how will I say it? People don't. They're very how will I say it? If you one of the animals that you don't hear from people's mouth a lot is panthers, right? Because people don't know that much about them, and they are very strong. So that's why, yeah. Although people know a lot about me a little bit, but I just love the way their strength is not acknowledged by most people, but they are very strong.
Hmm.
I love it. And does that panther also play baseball?
Oh, so every time I go to an Astros game, I actually usually the last one is the only time I have a lot of balls around. I always get a ball, so I always keep them. I don't know how I do it, but every time I go to an Astros game, I get a ball, so I always keep them. I actually have one all around the house somewhere.
I love it. I love it. I feel like I know you better now, right? And that's so cool, right? Just in like what we surround ourselves with and what we bring into a conversation. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I really
Yeah, you're
appreciate
welcome.
I do appreciate that strength of the panther. So many things about that are so meaningful.
Plus, you've been brought into his house, right? So, like, that's I think one of the advantages of like that's actually what makes it unique. Like, you get to know people based upon what's behind them. Hey, Aya, what would you want from a coach? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about your first coach.
My first coach actually was our friend when we started the class, Jenny, right? One thing I loved about her is she was present. I think coaches should be present. You're not when you're there, be there for the person. And that's what I want in a coach. Just be present with me. Let me know that you're there. And I think that's the biggest thing in a coach because when you're there, you will listen. When you're there, you will understand. When you're there, you'll ask the right questions. When you're there, you will challenge me, right? But if you're not there, if you're not present, I think you won't get all the other things. So I think being present, was the one thing. And she will look at you and you would know that she's there for you. And I think that's just one of the things that I love about having coaches. And I've seen a lot of coaches, within our organization, and they just they that's one of the biggest attributes that I love about them, including you, Matt, as well.
Thanks. How about like three resources, maybe three resources that you would recommend either to a coach or just in life in general that you found to be really helpful that you'd recommend?
So I love people going to International Coaching Federation, just go see some of their materials. I actually go to their YouTube. When I was doing my ACC coaching exam, I was listening to their YouTube all the time. I think it was like there's so many great resources there. Better Ops is another one, but I think every coach should be a reader, right? Because readers are leaders, and if coaches are leaders, right? If you're a reader, you will lead. I think you should find something to read at least once a day. Learn, about, what makes people tick. You know, learn about how companies are working because some of these things, somebody's going to come to you with some of these things, right? I'm not saying you're going to have to tell them the answers, but it helps you to, ask the right questions sometimes, right? So I think every leader, every coach should be a reader. Pick up books, pick up journals, pick up articles, find something new. Every coach should be curious. If you're just a coach and you're just sitting on your laurels and just think you're gonna, that's because things are changing every day. The way our generation is different from the way the new generation is, and I've seen it in myself when the new kids come into me when they're coming into work and coming to get me as a coach. I'm like, man, this guy doesn't need a coach. He needs a mentor, and you can be able to give them that advice, right? So there's some things you need to learn. And I think just continue to learn, continue to be a learner. And I think that's why I would tell every coach go to ICF, Better Hope. They have some great resources. And also just build a community of coaches around you because everybody has one story they can help you with. You don't have to share clients, information or things like that, but you can have similar things that you're going through and you can learn. So I always think, just finding an opportunity to be around other coaches and telling them some of the things you're going through, sharing experiences, it's actually a good way. I think it's a better resource because we learn from each other more than we learn from books or any other place. But I think that's the first one I would tell everybody.
Readers are leaders. I really like that. How does that, like when you're coaching somebody and
Mm.
you may say those words, you may not say the words, but how do you bring that into your coaching when you're working with a client and you're trying to help them learn something new or explore?
So one of the things I always ask for permission, right? That's one of the things coaches do. That like, hey, can I ask your permission to tell you so something? I have a book I've read and I think it's really good. That can help you with the situation you're going through. Can I recommend it to you? And the person says yes, then I'll recommend it. Say it might help you. And I just, I would say readers are leaders, but I would say, ask for permission to recommend a book to them. And if they say yes, I'll recommend it to them.
Maybe you can share with us a little bit about the genesis of reading with Io. Like, how did that come about? Like, I think it was one of the first ones that I saw that I was of somebody that I knew, and I was like, I actually would describe you with a very or an entrepreneurial spirit. So, like, how did that come about? Like, what was your thought process?
So during the pandemic, I just started picking up books again. So my dad used to make me read when I was younger. My dad used to make me read a book a day. So when I got out of college and I wasn't under him anymore, I hated reading. But you know the thing about it, with the things you built when you were younger, always stays with you. So during the pandemic, I just started like, you know what? I want to start reading again. And I fell in love with reading again.
Mm,
And I just started reading. So we and one of my friends, we used to like meet every other Wednesday and we would talk, and we would talk about books and we continue. And she was like, man, you love talking about books. Why don't you do something with it?
mm,
I'm like, yeah, I think so. I think I'll start a podcast. Then I read this book, Unfuck Yourself. Sorry for my language. You know, yeah, and it talked about you just doing it. Because I always tell people, like high performance, right? One of the things that separates them from low performance is they get an idea and they execute it, right? They start executing it. They're not overthinking. They will make mistakes. They will learn as they go. That's high performance. People that are low performance, they're looking for all the answers before they start. High performers, they ideate and they start. They will make mistakes along the way. They will irritate. They will learn from it and they'll grow from it and they will continue to execute. So, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. And that book on Fuck Yourself just just started it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to read this book. And as I finished reading the book, I just started. And that was my first podcast. And that was the one that had the most views.
mm.
Like, he had over 2,000 people that listened to it, which was really cool. And that has been the growth of it. I'm not doing as much as I should be doing right now because my son is actually taking a lot of my time right now. And I'm not saying in a bad way because he's a swimmer right now. He needs to go to swimming practice every day, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He's in competition. So it's like it takes a lot of my time. But I need to go back right now. So I needed to focus on family a lot, but I need to go back to the podcasting. I still read a lot, but I need to go back to the podcasting part of it because I actually have a lot of book I want to do podcast on right now that I want to record. But it's been a great time. I just love it. People have read that he's exposed me to a lot of people. He's giving me a lot of exposures. He's giving me opportunity to come and to go talk at places I've never had the opportunity to talk. So I think it's when you start something, people people will people will adhere to you. They will come to you. So I always tell people, start. People would help you. People would come to you, and I'll tell you. And Matt, when he said it, I like Matt. Start it. Matt, start this thing. And I'm glad that you guys already started,
Mm.
which is so beautiful. I love seeing this.
Yeah. Yeah, for those people that don't know or are just catching on, so Io and I used to work together, and he was one of the people that I actually went to, and I said, "Hey, look, I'm thinking about this. What do you think?" And that was his advice: just start. And I was like, "But wait, how about this?" And she's just start. And obviously, I was worried about making a mistake and not iterating or having to get it right. which is start. Way to go. Dave, what are your thoughts?
Thank you for asking, Matt. Io, I want to thank you for encouraging Matt to do this podcast. Because if it wasn't for you encouraging him to do that, I would not have been a part of it. It's enriched my own experience. And also, you wouldn't be on the podcast right now. So we wouldn't be having this conversation. So thank you so much for really for encouraging him. And yeah, thank you. So with that said, I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor. Are you stuck or overwhelmed? Character Matters Coaching and Consulting provides leadership coaching and consulting to empower you to overcome obstacles and reach your full potential. Visit charactermatterscoaching.com to learn more about their transformative coaching and how to get connected to Matt for your organization. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And thanks, Ayo. And until next time, have a great day. Thanks for listening. If you love this podcast, please share it with another coach or leader. Make sure you go to the show notes to get all the resources from today's episode.